do we have the process in place to get the oil to the consumer? But what we found out right away now is there is no lack. Because Dr. Holmes and I was listening to something and we were talking about sending them some ideas. And so he had an idea that he sent them, and I said, send them this one for me. I said, tell them to back up some tanker trucks and collect it. Just order tankers from every company that got them and fill them up. At least we can do that. I mean, I'm not saying that to get it all, but let's just capture what we can capture. And the interesting thing was the same day, he sent it like the one day, and this next day, or maybe later that day, the news was talking about, they're trying to get some tanker trucks. And they just can't get them until July, but they're going to get some tanker trucks to start the gathering. And so my point is this. There is an abundance. There is an abundance. We just live in a box where we cannot see where the abundance is. Or we hear a propaganda that causes us to believe that there is a lack. Or we live in a state in our personal lives that we then make the Bible agree with where we are rather than make our lives agree with the Bible. Woo! Is there anybody here today that just really would like to make their life agree with the Bible? We got to make our lives agree with the Bible. We can't be bringing the Bible down to our lives. We miss so much God has for us only because we defend the position that we're in when we really don't need to defend it. This baby not feeling well or whatever's going on, I don't even know her, so I don't know what's going on. But, surely she don't want to say, this mine and I'm keeping it. No, you want to get rid of sickness. You want to get rid of poverty. You want to get rid of anything that is weighing you down. You want to make a shift. Somebody says it's time to make a shift. Now, every time we talk about shifts, people think about running. Can I straighten that out? People think about running, but see, running is not the answer to anything. When we run, what we really do then is we just run with the same stuff to the next place. But if we will straighten out things and let our life line up with the word, whether we stand or move, then we still are blessing wherever we're walking. Are you here today? So we're not here to make the word fit where we are. We want to let the word be truth, and every one of us that say anything different be a lie. That's what the word, I just said what the word say, that let the word be truth and every man be a liar. Amen. So this word here, Jesus meet this woman at the well. And we know the story of if you've been in church for any length of time, of the woman at the well. And there's a lot of emphasis put on a lot of good places, and all that's good. But I don't really want to deal with so much of that today. I want to just give you a little bit of the story background because I don't assume everyone know the story. And the woman at the well was, she was a woman of Samaria, and the Samaritans did not deal with the Jews. And Jesus, of course, was a Jew. And so she's there getting water, natural water, for whatever purposes she needed them for. And she came in the middle of the day, and historians say perhaps because she was a woman who had a real serious reputation. And so she did not want to come in contact with the rest of the women who were coming to the well. You know how it is, you got a little something going on. You really don't want to come in contact with the rest of the sisters because they're going to be talking? Okay, y'all don't do that. Let me talk over here then. You got a little something going on, so you really don't want to come in contact with the rest of the sisters because you don't want them talking. And so you try to avoid that by going around and coming late and going, early, and do all this stuff. But, anybody know that doesn't work? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. If you're late, what they say is, why are they late? It must be. So you're going to get that any way you turn, you're going to get that. So she was trying to avoid it, but she didn't avoid it, but she did run into something very good. So then in verse number 10, when Jesus asked her in verse 7 to give him some water. And this is a very interesting and important thing that we need to hold on to as a church. He approached her right where she was. And he spoke to her about something she was dealing with right then. She's at the well getting water. So he says to her, give me something to drink. When you're witnessing and reaching out to people, don't start in New York somewhere with them. Start with them where they are. Start in a conversation that open up dialogue with them first. So he opens up the dialogue, and so she answers him, why are you talking to me? Really basically what she says. Jesus, and then furthermore, she says that you're not supposed to be having any dealings with me. Jesus tells her in verse number 10, if you really knew who I was, excuse me, not only would you be glad I'm talking to you, but you would want me to talk to you because I could give you some water that you would never thirst again. Now, it's just like most of us, it's just like most of us, when we think about Jesus, we think about him helping us have an easier life. We don't come to Jesus for his lordship. We come to Jesus to help make life easier. And so when we talk to people about getting saved, we say, come on to Jesus and all your trouble's going to be over. Come on to Jesus and life is going to be wonderful and great. And you come to Jesus and all hell break loose. And so we have a bunch of disillusioned Christians in the church because we have good intentions and trying to get them to cross over to the Lord's side. We've sold this message to them that just come on Jesus' side and everything is going to feel good and all your emotions are going to be satisfied. Listen, that is so not the truth. Now, yes, everything is going to be all right because you're going to be born again, come to Jesus, and become a child of God and live for God. But it has nothing to do with your comfort zone while you're in the earth. If anybody been through anything, you ought to say amen. Your comfort zone, your back hurts, your knees ache, you sweat more than you want to. Whatever you got, we got issues. Nudge your neighbor and say, we got issues. We got issues. We've got issues. And Jesus knew we'd have these issues. But the woman wants to say, well, if this water is going to mean that I don't have to come back to the well anymore, I'll take it. But how many of you know she had to come back to the well? For the natural stuff, you're going to have to keep coming to the well. I'd have thought I'm shutting it down. So you got to keep coming to the well for the natural stuff. And so he gets down here to verse number 16. And now this conversation takes another turn. And I'm talking about from abundance to abundance and abundance remain. We get down to the next segment, which is verse number 16. Jesus tells her, go get your husbands for me. Now, he's trying to witness to her. She's not receiving it. She starts trying to have some other conversation. So he says, listen, go get your husband for me. And she says, let me get rid of Jesus real quick. Let me get them out of my house right away. I don't have a husband. So you told me go get him. I don't have one. That settles that. But Jesus, being who he is, says, I know you don't have a husband. You told me right. But she didn't say she didn't have a husband because she didn't think she had one. She trying to get Jesus off her case. Then Jesus said, and the one that you with is not your husband. Oops. Oh, what a boomerang. and you've had 5 or whatever the story says, and you had a whole house full of them, and those are still, the one you're with is still not your husband. So Jesus is trying now to get her to a place where he can communicate with her. And this is so funny, boy. I love this text. She says to him, our fathers worshiped in the mountain, in this mountain. And the Jews said we should worship on another mountain. Have you ever had people that go real